What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cross Chop Podcast. That is John Owning of PFF. I am Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star Telegram. We are both cold. John's got the toboggan on. I am about to land tomorrow in Detroit, where the low is going to be 14 degrees, and according to people who are already touched down over in the Motor City, there is snow on the ground, and I'm not looking forward to it, man. I can't lie. I'm gonna die. I'm not a cold guy. I'm not at all. I'm like a medium cold guy. Like, give me in like a 40, 45, I can manage. But this
Bro,
team shit, hell no.
bro, 14 degrees, that's unfathomable cold for this Cali boy who went to Arizona for college. So, I don't do well in the real cold weather like that. No, sir, Bob. No, sir.
Yeah, it's not looking forward to it at all. But appreciate everybody tuning back in with us. P the Free, what's up, man? How we doing? Looking forward to diving into some things that we haven't been able to talk through in the last week or so. It was a huge day on Thanksgiving, and it's our first time clocking back since that win in what was the most watched regular season game in NFL history against the Chiefs. First off, John, just kind of your thoughts on this game. A couple of guys that played well. I'll try not to take all of them. But, CeeDee Lamb, I thought played really well. I thought even better than what his statistics showed. I mean, he was getting open damn near on every play. Looked fantastic. Thought Cooper Beebe had a strong effort. Nate Thomas obviously had a strong effort as the backup left tackle. And then Malik Davis, the big run that he had. But what are some standouts for you, John, and just this win in general? How do you kind of put it into context?
I mean, defensive-wise, the interior three continued to play up to their billing. They were fantastic. All three did their job and did it well, and were a big reason why the Cowboys were having success. A really good thing to see was how well the secondary was doing, how they were limiting mistakes, limiting miscommunications, and I think it was a big reason why Patrick Mahomes, for especially those two big Clowney sacks, why he had to hold on the ball so long, because the Cowboys secondary is doing just such a better job than they did earlier in the season at communicating, playing together, passing off receivers between zones, all of those type of things. So that was really fantastic to see. One player on offense that I really want to mention, given the high caliber matchup he had, is Tyler Booker against Chris Jones. He did such a fantastic job going against arguably the best defensive tackle in the entire NFL, especially in pass protection. I think I had a stat I put up on my all 22 thread. He was one-on-one with Chris Jones on 19 snaps in pass protection, and he only gave up one pressure.
Wow.
So that is just insanely impressive for a rookie to do against. If he's not the best defensive tackle, he's definitely the best pass rushing defensive tackle in the NFL. And to have that much success against a guy in a game that they had to have. Chris Jones is kind of known as a guy that plays up to the moment type of the situation. Booker was right there with him, not letting him take over, not letting him, have that dominant performance. I was such a great thing to see from a rookie, and it really, really, really points well to his future and how optimistic we should all be about what he's going to become, because he's taking over for Zach Martin. It looked like the Cowboys got another fantastic guy at right guard. So that was really fantastic to see, and just a huge win for the Cowboys against being able to beat both the Super Bowl teams in back-to-back. I think gives the fan base as a whole a ton of confidence. I think interest has almost, I don't know about you and your metrics for your stuff, but for my stuff, Cowboys related interest is growing.
I think we lost John. His Wi-Fi was a little spotty there. I'll just kind of build on some of the points that he was making. I'll build on Tyler Booker specifically because, first round offensive linemen aren't always hits. But if you look back at this first round and the guys that went in the first round, they have mostly all been hits. You look at Will Campbell, granted he's been hurt a little bit, but he's been looking like to be a success in New England. Armand Membu is looking like a 5-year pro already for the Jets at right tackle. It's probably one of the few good things that they have going on for them. Gray Zabel, I think, has been probably the best rookie offensive lineman for Seattle in their interior. And Tyler Booker's right there as well. All of these guys have lived up to their first round billing. I think 3 of those 4 guys I had first round grades on specifically. Gray Zabel was my highest ranked second round grade, but it was big to be able to see Tyler Booker live up to that potential as well. When you see, the Gray Zabels and the Will Campbell's of the world dominating, and that's just what it was. That's what it has become. It's been awesome. Got John back with some Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I had to move to the garage, unfortunately, because my wife's here also sick. So she's in a work meeting right now. So I have to kind of make it go what it does. Yeah, Tyler Booker, fantastic against such great competition. It was great to see.
Yeah, and it's been fantastic to see Dak Prescott and his ascension as well over the course of this season. There was a point where I feel like the MVP conversation kind of died out when they go to Denver and that performance happens, the Arizona game happens, and you go into the bye week and you're like, okay. Now, coming out of the bye week over the course of the last 3 games, our great producer man, Caden, has the stats down there. 9 total touchdowns, 942 yards. As far as passing yards per game, he is number 1 in the NFL. Whenever Drake May eventually has his bye week, he should be able to eclipse May and be first in total yardage. He's been fantastic. He's got multiple guys involved. It's a credit to the weapons that they've built around Dak. Don't get me wrong, with George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, I think is starting to play his best stretch of ball over the course of the last couple of games. But it's also just his quick decision making. And, we talk about his play action precision. To be a good play action passer, you have to be able to make good quick decisions. He's been able to do that. He's been able to maneuver around pressure because they haven't had the cleanest offensive line all year. It's been good, but it has not been clean by any means. I'd probably put it middle of the road in the NFL right now as far as the whole unit over the course of 12 games, I guess it's been. But I think with the way Dak's playing right now, he's entered himself back into the MVP conversation. And, scouting quarterbacks is weird. Evaluating quarterbacks is weird because so much of it is mental. But I think if you're looking at the quarterback play around the league and you understand who's been playing well, you got to put Dak Prescott in that conversation.
I think Dak Prescott has been playing at a very high level. He's been playing very well. One little contention I have is I don't think his last 3 performances have been quote-unquote MVP worthy. And the only reason I think that is because he has 7 turnover-worthy plays over the last 3 games, 4 dropped interceptions in close games. And when you're in close games like that, you cannot put the ball into perilous situations like that so easily. And I think he's doing everything else at an extremely high level, but he has to take care of the ball because if a couple of those dropped interceptions turn into interceptions, the last 2 of those games might have been losses. And we're talking about Cowboys in a completely different fashion. So I think, yes, he's playing at a very high level, but I think he's a tier below like the Matthew Staffords of the world, how they've been for most of the season. I know Stafford's coming off a game where he threw a couple interceptions and whatnot. Yeah. But I do think Dak is playing at an extremely high level for all the reasons that you said, his ability to manage the pocket, his ability to attack defenses with a bunch of different receivers at a bunch of different parts of the field. And I wouldn't rather have any other quarterback than Dak, but I do think there is another level for his quarterback play to reach down the stretch.
Yeah, and I've loved the physicality that he's kind of initiated too. You talk about that touchdown run that he had against the Eagles. That was so good to see, and just see him initiate and lower a shoulder like that, tumble into the end zone the way he did. And you could just tell the confidence is there too. He said it in the beginning of the year. He's as confident as he's ever been, and you're starting to see that confidence kind of recircle after the Denver and Arizona performances. And it's been solid. Now, with these 2 wins, Cowboys are over 500 for the first time all season. They're 6-5-1 at this point. They have to win this game against Detroit. As of right now, as producer Caden has it laid out, ESPN projections have the Cowboys an 18% chance of making the playoffs. If they win this game, those projections, those numbers shoot up to close to 40%. And that's where things start to get much more likely, and you start to sniff, an area to find a path for this team to sneak in. Also, after this game, the last 4 games of the season, the Cowboys should be favored in all 4 of those. You talk about the Chargers, the Vikings. The Chargers arguably have the worst offensive line in the NFL. The Vikings, they can't figure out what to do with their offense right now, and they have crashed and burned. And then you have Commanders and Giants. Now, the Commanders, I think that's the sneaky one on Christmas Day. You're working on a short week. Jaden Daniels will be back. They're obviously going to want, a good late season win to kind of throw some momentum into their regime. But I think, with these 4 games, they're all winnable. The toughest one you have left is this Detroit game, and it is so huge on this schedule.
Yeah, 100%. I think if the Cowboys win this game, then I really get optimistic about their playoff chances because, the NFC North teams, I think the Bears and the Packers are playing each other twice over the last few weeks. So
Yeah.
What you hope for is that one team wins both of them. I think Packers have a better shot to sweep the Bears there. And with the Eagles flounder, they don't really have a tough schedule, but I wouldn't put it past them to lose a couple more of these games to end the season. And the Cowboys can win the division, but the Cowboys have to win this Lions game to set themselves up well for the last month of the season for sure.
Yeah, it's tough because even if they do finish 10-6-1, if they have this loss against the Lions, that's going to kill them. It's going to be really hard because then the Lions will have the half game advantage on the Cowboys, and it just sets up for you're going to need a lot more to happen down the stretch. I've also seen some Twitter rhetoric, and I've appreciated the Twitter rhetoric too, because a lot of people have gotten my gears turning on how this team can sneak into the playoffs. There's some points out there that are saying hey, they're in control of their destiny as long as they win out, they're in. It's not necessarily true. They still need some things to happen. Granted, if they went out, I would probably say there's an 85% chance they're in, but it's not 100%. The Seahawks have some really important games coming up against the Rams. The Rams will have some really important games coming up as well. You talk about those Bears and Packers matchups. Yes, all these teams do play each other, but there is a scenario where the 7 seed is 12-5. And that's how good the NFC is this year. Right now the 7 seed is 9-4. It could set up that way. But, I think, this team has done a really good job. And that's been something that we've been kind of asking impressors is okay, are y'all looking at the big picture? How much does the big picture kind of affect things? Or is it really just a week-by-week basis right now? They're taking it game by game. And I think they understand how big this Detroit game is in the grand scheme of things. And that's probably more of an emphasis this week on the week-by-week structure. But nevertheless, the big picture has to be in focus in some way. Just kind of understand hey, you've won these last 3 games and it is setting up in a position to where if you're able to rattle off what, you could very well rattle off, you might not only be able to sneak into the playoffs, you might be able to win the damn division. With the way the Eagles are playing right now, I think that's a possibility. It's going to be really fascinating. What have you seen from the Eagles specifically, John? Do you feel like they can lose 2 more? The rest of their schedule is they're at the Chargers this week. They play against the Raiders at home, at Buffalo, and then they have 2 games against the Commanders, and I forget there's another game in the middle there that I'm forgetting about. But that's the rest of their schedule.
Yeah, they're just imploding. The offense is just – they have the most 3-and-outs, I think, in the entire NFL. I think one of the most frequent, 3-and-outs in the last, few years. They're just offense, and especially the passing game isn't operating at a high level. The loss of Lane Johnson has, totally cratered their ability to create push in their running game. Just their offensive line isn't as dominant as it was last year. You're seeing the knock-on effects of that on the entire offense as a whole. I think their offense was really centered around the offensive line being dominant, and when they're not dominant, it's really hard for them to consistently move the ball. I think their defense, is not bad, but getting run on like they did by the Bears just over and over interiorly, a place where the Eagles are usually really good, it just points to they have real bad vibes in that locker room right now. And when you have real bad vibes like that, anything can really happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if they drop, a game with the Commanders and the Buffalo Bills game for sure.
Have you had a chance to watch the Hard Knocks yet?
Yeah, watched the last time. I've given us so much Giants and Commander stuff. It almost made me fall asleep.
I was fascinated, though, by the look inside the Eagles-Bears game. And there hasn't been tension on screen, but you can kind of feel it, And shockingly, I kind of came out of that first episode more of a Sirianni guy and being okay, he's actually the one trying to keep this thing all together. Whereas before, just kind of my 30,000-foot view, I was I don't know if Sirianni's the best culture guy for that type of environment and that type of tension that's going on. But to my view, at least, or at least how they portrayed it, bringing in Brandon Graham, it was just as much of an on-the-field addition as it was off the field as well. And I think that's probably what Sirianni's hoping for. That's probably why that they featured that conversation that they had in their practice facility so much. I don't know. It's a fascinating one. It's a fascinating discussion. Did you kind of take away the same things?
Yeah, 100%. I kind of it seems like, honestly, I'm a Jalen Hurts fan, all things considered, except for him being an Eagles fan, but it really seems like he's at the center of a lot of the issues. It seems like a lot of it is Jalen related. I don't know what reason that is. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's just not good. If I was an Eagles fan right now, I would be very, very worried, but I would never do that to myself. Be an Eagles fan. What in the world? I actually like humans. I'm not a piece of.
Of the 7 playoff teams that are currently slotted in right now, is the last point we'll make here. Which one do you think is most likely to crash and burn? Other than the Eagles, because I think you'll probably say the Eagles. We got Chicago, Rams. Tampa Bay doesn't really matter. The NFC South winner is going to get in. Seattle, Green Bay, San Francisco.
I would say the Bears and the 49ers are the two.
Yeah.
Bears because of their schedule, because I know they have 2 games against the Packers, and I think they also have a game against the
Niners.
Yeah, against the Niners. So, it's a tough schedule. And then the 49ers, I think just Kyle Shanahan has been putting duct tape and strings together to keep that team afloat. And that's one of the things where I could see them dropping 2-3 games just because all of the injuries they face, not getting Brandon Ayuk back, all of those different types of things. So I could see them losing as well. So I think those are the 2 teams that I have my eye on in addition to the Eagles.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. They are closer to the Eagles than they are to the bottom wild card spot. So, all of a sudden the division is looking, somewhat winnable after right before that Eagles game. They were up by 4 games, which is just bonkers. But like we said earlier, none of this matters without a win against the Lions tomorrow night at Ford Field. Definitely want to preview some of the storylines going into this one. And man, the Detroit Lions are super battered up going into this ball game. I'm going to run through their injury report. They are already without Sam Laporta with a back injury. He's on IR. Starting corner Terrion Arnold, who was a first rounder in 2024. He hasn't really lived up to that billing, but he's a starting corner for them. He will not be playing. He was put on IR this week. Starting safety Kirby Joseph, he's out. Khalif Raymond, who's been a good rotational receiver for them, he's out. Their backup tight end, who's been filling in for Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, he is out. Now, let's run through some of their questionables. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the biggest one. I've gotten a lot of questions this week. Is Amon-Ra going to play? Is Amon-Ra going to play? Based on the local reporting that I trust in Detroit and some of the national reporting as well, I would say I'd put it about a 30 to 40% chance that I think Amon-Ra plays. The biggest report that stands out to me is Jeremy Fowler this morning in the ESPN national report saying that, they are going to be pushing him right up till game time, but that it's still looking like a long shot that he will play. So that's kind of the report that I'm sticking to, because obviously I don't have Detroit team sources. That's not my job. So I'm definitely sticking to the guns of the people I do trust, and that is certainly one of them. Their offensive line, 4 of their 5 starters are questionable. Now, there are probably only 2 that I think could have a shot at missing this game. We will take a look at, let's see right here. Now, their starting left guard, who is a Coyote Awasika, that is one I would put as a legitimate question going up until game time. Another one that I would put up as a legitimate question is Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell did get back on the practice squad, or did get back on the practice field today. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He practiced limited today, but it's going to be closer to a game time decision. Now, for their center, Graham Glasgow, their left tackle, Taylor Decker, it sounds like that there's a little bit more optimism, but those guys are still listed as questionable. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And then Brian Branch, their other safety, is questionable as well. They're already down Kirby Joseph. If they're down Brian Branch as well, geez, man. I mean, this could set up really well for the Cowboys.
We got to talk about Frank Ragnow thinking he can come back with a torn hamstring or whatever it was. He didn't know.
Grade 3 hamstring.
Yeah, didn't know. Had just what's going on? That just blows my mind, man. That, is it grade 3 like torn off the bone or something? It is. Like that? What in the world? This guy thought he could play with that? What a tough son of a bitch right there. What a tough son of a bitch. That is insane. But man, if Penei Sewell misses, that is a huge deal, because we'll get into that. Maybe we won't get into the matchups right now, but I really think that the only way that this Detroit Lions offense can reliably attack the Cowboys defense is on the edges, with the tackles versus the Cowboys edge defenders, because I really, really think that the Cowboys interior defensive line should be able to dominate this performance against the Lions' interior offensive line. Even without the injuries, I think the Cowboys are just extremely more talented. That's an area where Detroit has really struggled through the entire year. And then if you take Penei Sewell out, man, it really sets up well for this Cowboys defense to stymie this Detroit Lions offense, especially with the injury to Amon-Ra St. Brown. It really kind of puts the Lions in a hard place to really create production. I mean, the one area outside of that I think that they can try to attack that teams have had success is attacking the flats with Jahmyr Gibbs. But I hope that Eberflus is smart enough to realize that, because it's something that the Lions have done consistently. And I know how he loves to play top-down defense. Like he does a lot of the no-cover zone in the first 5 yards of from the line of scrimmage, and he wants teams to rally. But that's a really scary proposition against someone like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's as good as him in the open field. So if you take away Penei Sewell, that's going to take away. It's going to make the Lions really play left-handed against the Cowboys, and that's something that they're very good at.
Yeah, and even if they do try to attack the flats with Jahmyr Gibbs, Deron Bland has put together a really good stretch of games over the past couple of weeks. I would like that matchup, for him being able to – I mean, he's probably not going to win that matchup 10 times out of 10, but, I think you'll get more wins than losses. I'll say that. I think
that matchup, another one, what if Bland's on the opposite side and it's Kenneth Murray who's responsible for, the man who has naked pictures of Eberflus somewhere? What if he's responsible for covering Jahmyr Gibbs in the flat? That's what I get worried about.
If I had to put money on it, though, I would say of the questionable guys, we'll run through them again. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Branch, Penei Sewell, right tackle, left guard, Coyote Owasika, center, Graham Glasgow, right tackle, Taylor Decker. If I had to put money on it, I think the guys who miss tomorrow are Amon-Ra and Coyote Owasika, the left guard. I would be surprised if they go into that matchup without Penei Sewell, knowing that there are already going to be a lot of injuries that they're dealing with. Same with Brian Branch, especially given that those two guys did practice today. But, we'll find out, and I will definitely be hawking my binoculars down on their pregame warm-up sessions to see what it's looking like. But nevertheless, it's going to be fascinating. Now, let's just look at the matchup overall. I mean, really talented players regardless. I do want to start with that running back game that they do have with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, which I think is a hilarious and phenomenal nickname.
Best backfield nickname in the league, for sure.
It really is. How do you stop it? How do you stop it with this personnel, John?
5 down fronts, be secure with your gaps, and make sure you tackle on first contact. That's where especially Montgomery's really good. He's really powerful. His ability to make yards through contact has always been really good. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, you have to contain him in the box. You cannot let him get outside. You cannot let him get to the second level untouched. And I think, thankfully, that the Cowboys have the interior defensive linemen to be able to do that and really set themselves up for success. As long as, the Clowney injury is one we need to be very mindful of, because he's the best. Him and Ezra are the best that the Cowboys have at defending the edge and against the run. If the Cowboys have to play significant snaps with Dante Fowler and Sam Williams out there on the edges, it's going to be very worrisome, especially if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be in the game. So that's going to be I'm interested to see how Eberflus and White Cotton rotate the defensive, especially the edge defender group, because you do not want to have too many snaps out there where you're relying on Fowler and Sam Williams to set strong edges against this run game, because that's a way that you could get beat for a very, very big game.
Yeah, and there's a point you mentioned, those 5-man fronts, and I'm trying to find the statistic that I saw earlier today about the 5-man fronts. Okay, here we go. So obviously they were experimenting. Matt Eberflus was experimenting with these 5-man fronts before Quinnen Williams even showed up. Against Carolina, all the way back in Week 6, they used it for 7 snaps. So it was kind of like hey, let's throw this out there, see if there's some positives that come out of it. Against Arizona, they used it on 27 snaps. Now let's flash to after the bye week. In Week 10, that's when they add Quinnen Williams into the mix. They only use it 9 times against the Raiders, 20 times against the Eagles, and then 11 times against the Chiefs. So when you honestly, it felt like more in watching the games. And we lost John, so we'll try to get John back in. It felt like more when it was in the game. But, seeing that snap usage only at that level, it kind of surprised me a little bit. Now, the statistics around the five-man fronts are actually pretty interesting as well. So they have allowed an average of 7.3 yards per play over the past 3 weeks when they've used these five down fronts. 7.3 versus 4.7 when they use four or fewer, which is that's really fascinating to me. I don't know if you heard those numbers, John. Over the past 3 weeks, when they've used five-man fronts, they've allowed 7.3 yards per play. When they have not used these five-man fronts, they've allowed 4.7. Now, I understand wanting to still throw them in because it adds the layer of unpredictability when you have those five-man fronts. It can really allow for some, trickle effect. What other effect do you see from the five-man fronts, even though the statistics are showing much different yardage allowed on these plays?
Well, I just don't think it's large enough sample size. The definitive declarations either way, because one big play can change up what the average yards per game per play is so much. So I wouldn't be too much into like the yards per carry, the yards generated per play. So I would more want to take a look at it on a play-by-play basis to see how it's working. I still like its ability to create single matchups for your interior three. And I also think it's a good way the gaps into your game helps you a lot versus zone reads and RPOs. So when you're going against a team like that, I understand more. That's why they use it so much against the Eagles, because they use so much zone read and RPO stuff. That's why they use it against the Cardinals as well. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's definitely a tool that they should use. They should continue to use. I think they should base out of it necessarily. No, I definitely think that it's something that is useful and they should be used to give not only offenses another look at the game plan for, but it also can be very successful in the right situations. And sorry, my terrible.
It's fine. We lost John there. It's all right. We're gonna dive into some fan chat here, and I'll try to get into as much of these as possible. Appreciate everybody sticking with John's Wi-Fi. Again, what's up, P Free? Appreciate you. Smalls HG Nick, just like Jared Goff, not a cold weather guy, not for real. And it's funny because I used to be when I was a kid, but I think I was just always lying to myself. Once you get below like 25, what are we doing? What are we doing once it gets like below 25? It's gonna get bad out here. Peter Free, appreciate you, man. Let's see. Everybody loves to hate on the Cowboys, but also loves watching them. I'm sure that was in response to the most watched regular season game in history. The numbers on that game were shocking to me. Let's see. This is a good question here from Solid Duck. Do we still not like Matt Eberflus? John, I know you have a passionate opinion there. You got us?
Yeah, we still don't like Eberflus. You need the best interior defensive line in the NFL to have some success on your defense. Your scheme is not good. It's out of here. But it's just frustrating because I know the Cowboys' success is going to give the Joneses all they need, So it's frustrating, but way push forward.
Smalls HD media will trip over themselves to give Drake May MVP, and they'll find a way to snub Dak for comeback player again too. Yeah, it looks like Christian McCaffrey's kind of running away with comeback players. As far as the odds go, like the odds are really starting to favor Christian McCaffrey. Dak is second though, so maybe like an injury to McCaffrey. I'm not wishing that on him, or maybe some low production from him over the course of the next couple of games. Maybe Dak can bounce back. And shout out to our man Joe Hoyt. Just want to say you gentlemen are doing great. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Love you, Joe.
I think he has touchdown in cold land up in Detroit. So all the best to you, Joe. Let's see. Smalls HG, call me a hater, but the Eagles don't have a head coach that's proven he can pull them up in bad situations. And see, that's kind of like what I thought my opinion was going into that Hard Knocks episode last night. But like I don't know. It's just one episode of a television show that obviously is trying to show a lot of great things about these people. But I don't know. I kind of felt like Nick Sirianni's trying to keep it together as much as he can, and I've never really been a big Sirianni guy. I think his culture has been kind of jagged at times, A. And I think his game management has been really poor in other situations, B. But, he's gotten that team to, where it has been over the course of the last few years. Let's see. Rank these three teams as of when Dallas played them. Okay, I like this. Philly, KC, and Detroit. Is Detroit 3? Gosh, I wish I could answer that question after knowing who will play in this game tomorrow. Let's say it's the left guard that is out, and Amon-Ra is out. How would you rank these three teams? I think we maybe lost John. I'll go ahead and rank them right quick. I would go. Man, this is a tough one. I would probably go Philly 1. Yeah, I would probably go Philly 1. KC 2, Detroit 3. Yeah, I get it. I think that the tough element about this Detroit game, though, is that it's on the road. And it's a road game in a tough road environment. It's going to be an emotional type game because both of these teams really need this one. And it's really going to determine a lot as far as playoff implications go. John, here for this question. Let's pretend Amon-Ra and the left guard is out tomorrow for Detroit. How would you rank the three teams when Dallas played them?
I would go KC 1, Philly 2, Detroit 3.
Gotcha.
How'd you rank them?
I went Philly, KC, Detroit, but I throw in the added element of it being a road game, and that's going to add a much different element to this game. It's going to be a little bit more emotional, a little bit more physical, because both teams really need this game. Let's see. I saw this on Twitter today. I don't like it. Not to clown on the opinion, no pun intended. If Clowney couldn't go, could you see a guy like Solomon Thomas playing a little edge and maybe a Perrion Winfrey sighting? I mean, you might see Winfrey, but I don't think you'll see Thomas on the edge. I think you would see Osa on the edge before you would see Thomas, and I still don't even think you would see Osa on the edge.
Yeah, I don't like playing defensive tackles on the edge unless you got a freaky guy like Chris Jones or Aaron Donald, one of those type of guys. I just think you lose so much rushing the passer in those situations. And also what people don't think of is defensive tackles don't have the lateral speed to not get reached as consistently by those tackles. That's why you need a lighter body there who can kind of mirror and keep their gap on those lateral, on those reach plays or on those kick out blocks. And that's a lot harder for someone as big as a defensive tackle to be able to move as fluidly with an offensive tackle. It's a lot easier when you're moving against slower footed guards and centers.
And let's see. Fluke's going to find a way to get Murray on Gibbs. P the free. Do we know
when the season's over? That should be your big investigative reporting is what naked pictures Kenneth Fleury has, or what incriminating evidence he has on Eberflus to keep him on the field for so long, because it makes no sense.
Do we know about Penei Sewell's backup? Would he be better than an injured Sewell? So the backup is Dan Sticker. That's their backup swing tackle.
The stiffest man in the NFL. The stiffest man in the NFL.
He's decent in pass pro, but his run game stuff is bad. I'm with you.
He's so stiff. I don't know if he knows how to bend in his knees. I'm not even kidding.
His run game stuff is really bad. So it would help, the Cowboys' effort in being able to stop that run game, because that's what scares you, I think, going into this ball game as a Cowboys fan. Biggest thing is Jared Goff quite literally doesn't move. This is an optimal matchup for Q, Osa, and KC. They have to generate interior pressure. With or without these offensive linemen, I think that's going to be one of the more crucial keys to winning this ball game is generating that interior pressure. And then so much so that I would have the edges playing contain damn near every snap. Just contain the backfield. Make sure that Gibbs and Montgomery do not get loose either in the receiving game or in the run game, and just have these interior guys try to generate interior pressure and have that work hopefully in your favor. But you're going to be leaning on this interior quite a bit in this ball game.
Who knew Nick was such a big proponent of the peel rush from the edge defenders? He's a peel man. He's a peel man, fellas. He's a peel man.
Shout out to Bananas and shit. Joe DeMille, I was late. Does Clowney have a shot? We actually didn't even discuss that. Clowney's going to be a true game time decision. Him getting on the practice field today was big, though, really big. They needed to see him on the practice field before giving him that workout tomorrow, but they're going to work him out on the field about 2.5 hours before the game, and they need Clowney in this ball game. You've mentioned it on Twitter, John, and I completely agree with you. Let's see. Be the free John streaming from a BlackBerry.
Bro, more like streaming from a potato over here. Dude, we pay like $100 in internet, but I can't get it unless I'm literally right next to the goddamn router.
Yeah, it's all good. That's what makes this a casual setting.
At least you guys get to see my tree. Look at that.
That is a phenomenal tree. I was going to mention that at the end. I was going to mention it at the end. The tree looks great. You put it
I
up by yourself?
decorated it all myself. My wife did not do a single thing. It was just me. Crazy, right?
I have a feeling that's not true.
Bro, I was sick and dying while she was doing it. I was coughing up a lung.
Oh,
She
man.
did the entire thing. I felt so bad.
Shout out to John's wife. It looks fantastic. Will players be motivated from last year's game, or is that not really a thing with roster turnover year to year? That was something that was asked this week, and there's not really a whole lot of added motivation from that game. I think Dak put it perfectly. He was like, man, we're 1-1 because they called back to that game in 2023. I think it was the 20-19 win with the ineligible man or, whatever it was on that 2-point conversion that Dan Campbell was so stubborn about. I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but I would definitely call it a game that this team definitely wants to win, but it's not as spirited as gosh, it's tough to kind of call back to, it's not as spirited as like Green Bay. Or if they were to run it back against Carolina, I think it would be maybe a little bit more spirited because they knew they had that game, but like I would put it in that stratosphere though. Let's see. Solid Duck. Appreciate you, man. And yeah, P the Free shouting out the tree as well.
Man, thank you.
Let's see. Smalls HD, Dan Campbell going for fourth downs and giving short fields chronically has been losing them games. He's a little too emotional of a play caller. You hope that works in your benefit a couple of times if you're the Cowboys. It definitely did that first time around. And we'll see if, that he tends to do those things more at home as well. You tend to see those calls a little bit more at home. So I'm curious to see what that will look like. And then Greg Daniel, Nick with a UNT hat. Go Mean Green. They are 1 win away from the college football playoff. Who would have ever thought that? I am juiced for Friday night.
What are the odds they win? I have no idea.
They're the favorite. They are the favorite. They have to go to New Orleans and play at Tulane, but they are the favorite. And if they win, they're in the playoff. And nice. I'm gonna be juiced. I'm gonna be losing my mind. I'm sticking around in Detroit for a couple of days, so I'm gonna be losing my mind in my Detroit hotel room on Friday night if that happens. So go Mean Green.
Get yourself a Detroit-style pizza and watch that game.
You got any Detroit-style spots? Have you been to Detroit? Anybody got any spots doing in the chat?
I make my Detroit-style pizzas from scratch at home, though, and they're fucking delicious.
Noted. And recreational fun might be had as well.
Oh, my man. I love to hear it. Might be. Recreational fun and a Detroit-style pizza, get that.
And a Mean Green win, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. Well, everybody that tuned in, appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. Greg Daniel, Mark, Smalls HDP, the Free Solid Duck, Rapid him in. Who else we got? Joe DeMayo, Joe Hoyt. Shout out to you, man. Everybody that tuned in, really appreciate you guys. Man, this is going to be a fun one tomorrow night at Ford Field, 7:15 Central on ESPN. And we'll be back on Friday to recap it and set you up for what should be a fun December slate, one way or the other. But John, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to say sorry about my internet today, everybody. Usually I'm plugged into the Wi-Fi router and it's not an issue, but wife was working from home today because I got her sick, so it's my fault. Next time it'll be better, I promise. Friday it'll be all solved. But thank you guys for tuning in and watching with us. Really appreciate it.
We'll give John a pass this time. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And shout out to producer Caden for setting us up. We'll see y'all on Friday.